Hello, friends. Oh my goodness. I cannot wait for this whole thing, this whole shenanigan of doing these shows via whatever this is. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. I'm over every single minute of it. Whatever this is. Oh my God, what a nightmare on high it's been. So I'm going to send this out just for a minute. I'm so sorry that this is just so complicated. My goodness, you think with all this costume jewelry, I'd know how to handle any of it. I don't. All of a sudden today on YouTube, I needed shooting software. I have no idea what that is. I feel like Lucille Booth. I don't know what it is, and I refuse to answer it. But here we are. Here we are. Thank God I got to at least use the setup I have. Thank you all for following me to this monstrosity, whatever it's going to be. I set up perfect. Look at my gorgeous lighting. I had gorgeous lighting. I was all prepared, ready to sit and talk to you for about an hour and about an hour. Let's not be crazy. We all have lives. It's Friday night in the middle of a pandemic. I'm sure you're just bustling with activity. But I wanted to take a little time tonight and kind of talk to you about the year that was and wasn't, and celebrate all the things we've been through, and hopefully some more we're about to go through, and celebrate my birthday, which is tomorrow. God, how did this happen? A whole year went by. And I don't think I'm counting this one. I think at a certain age, you get to just dismiss certain years of your life. You're like, no, didn't count. Didn't count. Not that, you perhaps didn't learn something from them, but simply you could say, it wasn't my best. Let's have a do-over. And you'll say, well, that's foolhardy because your body, mind, figure, frame of reference don't change. But I don't really care because I've been stuck in 1947 for a decade. So it doesn't really matter to me. I'll just be older and wiser and hopefully still well in my 30s. My God, it's not a big one yet. It's on the cusp of a big one. And let me tell you, I've been sitting through it and kind of like, wow, this is real adulthood. This is grown up time. How does that feel for everyone? Terrible, terrible, just horrendous. Yes, I get to live by my own rules and pay my own bills, but let me tell you, it's frightening as all get out, as some of you well know. Now, for those of you who are disappointed I'm not up and around and bopping all over the place, I'd like to remind you that I am, of course, wearing heels. Yeah. I don't know. Obviously, I don't do a lot of foot fetish work on this computer because I don't really know where to put my foot so you can see them. But there they are, somewhere over there. I tried to think of it as a kind of like, oh, we're going to dance. We're going to get up and do. That just seemed very complicated. And the light fell and hit me twice. So I thought, enough. Let's just move past it. So I know that people are probably moving back and forth, and I don't know how that's working out for everyone. I hope it's working out for people. Before we get started, I just need to do a little business. So this is a benefit for little old me, Justin Elizabeth Sayre. I have been, I don't want to paint you a hardship story because I'm doing fine. And I'm doing just about as good as many other people. And there are far more people who have it far worse than I. But over the course of the year, I was very privileged to do benefits for all sorts of organizations. Fairy Camp Destiny, we did Night of a Thousand Judies, we did a few benefits for Black Lives Matter, Go Blue, and loved raising money for big concerns everywhere. But as you all know, for a lot of us that are live performers, this was the closest we're going to get. So it's my birthday this weekend, and I thought, wouldn't it be nice to reach out to you, tell a couple of stories, sit around, have a couple laughs, and then you can give me some money. Feel about that any way you want to, honestly. Feel about it. Have all the feelings. I'm here to process it with you. Just, send the money too. For those of you who can, my Venmo is at Justin-Sayre, Sayre on Venmo, or we're at PayPal at justinsayre@gmail.com. I'm happy to service you on every platform you need servicing, which sounds filthy. And if it comes to that, it comes to that. Let's be honest. I wanted to tell you, I have this beautiful setup now because we're in the corner of my living room, the little reading nook of my living room, with our lovely Dawn Davenport pillow, just in case things get a little emotional. We need to feel supported. But because I wasn't going to actually get to perform live for everyone tonight, I thought, well, let's kind of create an illusion. Being gay at a certain point is all about illusions, isn't it? Isn't it? And I set up a little audience for myself just around, because if you've ever been to my home, if you've been one of the few, I have a lot of tchotchkes, as you know. We've been through that quite a bit. But I also have a lot of busts and figurines. I got a lot of stuff. Some of it I'm giving away. We'll keep you in mind. But some of it I thought, well, maybe I'll use these friendly faces from around my apartment to kind of give myself the illusion of talking to an audience and making some folks laugh for my birthday. So we have there's a bust of Goethe right over there. Why not? I'm sure he'd need some laughs. Moliere and Pushkin, a lot of authory stuff. But I wanted to show you a personal collection and some ladies that I feel like are going to make the evening all the more special. Now, for those of you who don't know them, and I'll hold them up very closely. Do you see these? These were vases from the 60s, these little kind of shy, demure ladies. And none of them have eyes, which I appreciate, because that means they're either looking the other way and allowing me to do something stupid, or they're just demurely about their own business. So I've named them all, and I thought they're the perfect audience members because I love enthusiasm, and I love a lot of laughs. I love a receptive audience, but I also like cold refusal because I was raised a Catholic. So this is Helen, and Helen is kind of hearing something she doesn't like. She's thinking, no, not for me, not for me. And Helen, you may be my favorite after all. This is Jocelyn. She smelt it, dealt it, and she's fine with it. This is Brigitte. She's just been to the bathroom and is signaling to her friends how things went down. Number 2. And this last one is Marianne. She's a formal hand model, and she's insufferable about it. So there's a little audience for us, just giving us the illusion that we're together, even though we're not, and we may never be again. I'll tell you, ladies and gentlemen, and I have to get into the habit of saying this, and I want to keep saying this, so remind me if I don't. I picked up the habit of saying ladies and gentlemen from Kiki and Herb, as I picked up most of my accent, affectation, and lifestyle from Kiki and Herb. But I have decided to add ladies and gentlemen and all those otherwise engaged, or a new one I came up with this morning, ladies and gentlemen and all those undecided or undeterred. I like undeterred, as if you were challenged on it and thought, I'm not bothered. Ladies and gentlemen and all those undecided and undeterred, I have to tell you that for me, the pandemic has been a moment of terrible, haunting contemplation. Where am I going? What am I doing? Every morning I woke up with the song from the Valley of the Dolls playing in my head, not knowing which way to turn. And I've come to a lot of decisions. One is, I think moving forward, pants are going to be completely optional. I don't think it's a predetermined fact for me anymore. I think that moving on, I don't know how I'm going to ingratiate that into society, who may be uncomfortable with it, but you know what? It's going to be a brand new world, baby. We're going to have to get used to a lot of things we weren't used to before. And a nice updrift for me midday is going to be lovely, and I'm not giving it up. I also like a nap around 5 o'clock. Why? Why not? Why not? You deserve it. If you've had the stress of the goddamn world on your shoulders for the last year, take a nap and have a daydream that turns into a nightmare. No, it's been very strange for me because, I have to say, prior pandemic, and I know everybody kind of talks about, I get these lovely notes occasionally. I don't mean to go off topic, but you've met me, so here we are. I get these notes occasionally where people say, "You're so yourself." And I take that very much to heart because I want to be myself. I haven't really figured out who else to be, because Edie Beale seems fun on the surface, but then the fleas. And I think I live up to that standard most days. I think I am myself. I think I'm kind of uniquely who I am. I don't really kowtow to a lot of things. I did buy a kale sweatshirt, but that was mostly out of spite. One time I'll tell you that story. So I found in this quarantine that I was like, well, who am I? You take these moments and you examine yourself. Who am I? Where am I going? What am I doing? Ponder, ponder, ponder. And I thought, well, I finally figured out my gender. That's a big one right off the bat. My gender, we'll start right off with that. My gender is completely my own business. I'm just here living my life. I've given you my pronouns so you can understand certain things, but that's all I'm ever going to give you. It's my own journey. I don't need to show you what's up my skirt or what's in my pants, deciding what I'm going to wear each day. There'll definitely be heels in the equation, but besides that, your guess is as good as mine. And for those of you who are uncomfortable because you feel like, oh, we have to pick a side, we have to be something, I'm telling you, I don't. And if you need to pick something for me, then that's on you. And what a limited world you must live in. I also decided for myself that I really have reached the precipice of a wonderful gorge. And in that gorge is just unbridled fucking gayness. Like, I think at a certain point, you get to a point where you're so gay. Like, I've gotten to the point where I've started to forget that people are straight. Like, when people say they're straight to me, I'm like, oh, that sounds so old-fashioned. Do you churn butter? Do you ride in a buggy? Oh, you're straight. How quaint. And I forget oftentimes that there are straight people in the world. Now, I assume many people are straight because, look at the crisis we're in. But I also find that I don't really care to know anything about it. Now, let me say this very clearly, because I'm sure there might be some straight people out there who are watching this who've stumbled on to see a slightly overweight homosexual sitting in their living room talking over a divine pillow and said, perhaps I should be curious about this. But to those few of you, I would say, listen, straighties, we've been playing by your rules for a long time. And where has it gotten us? Nowhere. So now I'm just going to assume that everyone's at least questioning. That's what the Q stands for at certain points. And one day they'll wake up to possibilities. I'm going to look at straight people from now on as people that just haven't tried things, but maybe they'd like it if they did. You know, like weird people who don't like mustard, like me. I'd like to, I say this about straight people, and I don't mind straight people. I don't allow them in the house because they've had enough. But I do say it about myself because I started to notice that, I just don't, all those benchmarks that's one supposed to have as a straight person, all those kind of keyed in moments of like, oh, we're getting married and having babies and having 401ks and retirement plans, that didn't seem to add up to me because I was still thinking, should I get highlights? Should I? Do I have the framework for it? The answer is often no, but I do have immaculate bone structure, so the jury's out. And now, as I'm reaching an age which I never really thought I would get to, let's be honest, I thought this was going to go down in flames many a year ago. If you would have seen me cross a street in New York City, you'd be surprised you're here as much as I am. Oh, I love to dare a cab. Love to dare a cab. But I've been at this point right now in this last year where you kind of had this moment. I don't know if you've been having these, but I've been. Where you're looking around and you're like, you know what? Fuck this. Like, honestly, I don't think it's a philosophy for life, but seriously, fuck this. This is fucking crazy. People should be wearing their masks. People shouldn't be voting for a man who lies to them. Just fucking fuck this. This is crazy. Why are we living like this? Just abject anxiety dripping out of me that luckily I sopped up with a biscuit and ate. And after that, many moments of panic, I get back to myself and I'm like, all right, well, what's the last Band-Aid you had? If you're really going to say fuck this, if you're really going to change it all, what's that going to look like for you? And I thought, well, I don't really think that I adhere to many heterosexual norms. Certainly not. I'm a grown adult male person sitting in a caftan and sparkly shoes on a Friday night alone in my living room, surrounded by ceramics. I think baseline, I'm pretty in the clear. However, I did start to think about the ways in which you kind of diminish yourself at times because you're worried about frightening the animals. You understand. You understand. Maybe you don't put on that extra ring because you think, God, if I get one more look from that cashier at Albertsons, it's going to be a real problem. Or maybe you don't wear a little highlighter even though you deserve it, a little cover-up. And then I thought, well, what's holding me back from those decisions? Am I still afraid? Is there still some kernel of homophobia living deep inside me, deep, deep, deep inside me that I've buried with regret and quite a bit of fried chicken? And then I thought, you know what? It isn't that. It isn't that. In some ways, the only thing that I think I'm still holding on to is a sense that it's going to be fair. Now, hold out. I know we're already getting dark and you're like, girl, we're 19 minutes in. We got a whole hour. You need to chill out. Believe me, we will dip and this is a roller coaster evening. Buckle up, take your edible and settle. Which is actually going to be my wedding vows. Welcome, husband. Buckle up, take your edible, and settle. The world is yours. But what I say when I mean fair is I thought, well, at the end of the day, I just want to go about my life from A to B. And it's not about I think the great misnomer that people have when they see kind of this coming at them is, oh, you're doing that because you want a lot of attention. You want to stick out. Let me assure you, I want none. I don't want attention. I'd like adoration from afar, but I don't need attention. And I don't do this to help you, to hinder you. I do this merely to express who this is. Because at the end of the day, this is all I have. This is the only person I'm going to end up talking to at the end of the night. Really. Even if I'm married, even if I have a dozen kids, I'm going to still have to live with this person. And my contract moving forward with this person is that I'm going to be honest to who this person is. No matter what. No matter if it looks weird, no matter if we're in a gas station in Kentucky and I'm walking in a caftan just to get some Raisinets. No matter if that's the case, it's do or die now, ladies. We're here for the duration. It's time to get freaky. And when I looked at that, the fairness came up because I thought, well, A, not everybody gets to do that. Now, it doesn't mean that this comes off without a price, you know. I have to, I'll tell you this story. We're getting into it. We're getting deep into it. I hope you're buckled up and ready. I am on the gentleman's social apps. You know what I'm talking about. Not the great courses. No, not the great courses. But, the gentlemen's, where gentlemen meet to meet. Now, I haven't been having sex because, pandemic. And and I get, side note, just in case you ever wanted to send me a picture of your asshole, please say hello first. Just a hello. Just a hiya. Because I just don't, I find that very abrasive. Very abrasive. Just give me a moment to collect myself, Just keynote for me. Now, I was on them for quite a while, as most of us have been on, and you go through periods of time where you're like, this is hell. I just want to meet someone at the ballet like normal people. And sometimes that doesn't happen. It doesn't often happen because you don't talk to anybody there. Like I've often said to myself, oh, I should go, next time I go to the opera, remember when there was operas? I'll just strike up a conversation with a stranger. I don't want to talk to people I don't know. Well, that's going to limit who you meet. So you have this kind of back and forth. And I've been on them recently almost as a pen pal situation, an erotic pen pal situation. There's a lot of still photography that goes back and forth, just reminding us what things look like. There's some lovely love notes, some check-ins. We talked about the Queen's Gambit, and then we move on. Perhaps we meet, perhaps we don't. You know how pen pals are. Sometimes it's a C.S. Lewis. Sometimes it's just a Nigerian kid that you've been writing to since high school. I try to, unlike many other people, which I just find bizarre, I don't have time to get compliments for other people. Like how people the whole catfish phenomenon? That would drive me insane because I want you to somehow find this ham sandwich appealing. Why am I going to send you a picture of Michael Urie and hope we match? I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I don't have time for it. So I'm just going to put this as is. This property is condemned right on the market and see what happens. Now, I also had this thing where, and this I know some of you know from having been to my shows, and others, it'll be brand new information. Happy birthday. In other scenarios, I find, now, you would think this persona, were you to find this person, me, somewhere in a bed somewhere, I would hate to think of what position you'd find me in. But I will tell you that, strangely, I'm a top. I'm a feminine top, a blouse. We're a rare breed, but we're the best. And I'm a Sagittarius, so all bets are off. I mean, welcome to romance, kids. But welcome to romance. That's going to go over great, I'm sure. But now when you see this persona, right? When you see this kind of cabana wear scenario, you don't immediately think, oh, I bet that really takes care of business. You think I might be some kind of pillow princess, which is not to degrade bottoms in any way. I believe bottoms are the great glue that keeps this world a-turning. Thank you, bottoms, even though you've done nothing for me this year. But I understand how I look, so I decided to put it all out there, to be very abrasive for the first time in my life on the gentleman's social apps, and just say that I was, a hung bare top, which is all true, I can assure you, right? And obviously, you get a lot more attention. Now, some of that attention I find abrasive. Some of it I find just too much. But some of it is very comforting, and I've met some lovely people. I've started some lovely correspondences. Who knows if we're ever going to meet in a sort of Sarah plain and tall mentality, but there we are. So I have been noticing that you get a little more attention, but then I kind of drop the other bomb on them. And the other bomb is, okay, in one scenario, that being gay sexual congress between us, right? I will perform the following duties, and I will do them with gusto, zest, and rigor. However, once those duties are done, I would like to be a big fat girl. Now, you can say, oh, well, that I'm sure many a gay gentleman is up for that kind of wild ride. Mr. Toad gets out and all of a sudden he's in a dress. But I will tell you, there's a real line that one has to kind of tread. And I don't tread it cautiously. I'm not embarrassed. If somebody says, no, I need you to be a he-man womanizer all the time, I'll be like, listen, I don't have the back strength to carry that kind of shame. You're welcome. I'd like to be a big old girl and watch The Crown all the way through just so I can enjoy it in each moment again. I want to eat bonbons. I want to listen to Joe Stafford and put on heels and put my legs in the air just because I want to look at pretty shoes and pretend I'm on a Ferris wheel. I have no time for masculinity, and I don't really involve myself much in it at all. And you do get these scenarios online where you meet gentlemen, loose, very loose. I also like a loose gentleman, so do with that as you will. That's the one thing you can say. Gay sex, don't go for newbies. Really. I don't, this whole masculine thing about, wanting a virgin, don't do it. Don't do it. If you're gay, I give you this advice as an elder gay. Find your sluttiest friend and sleep with them. Always sleep with sluts, real sluts, because they know their business. They know their business. You do not want somebody this is their first time at the rodeo. No. Get in there where many other men have been. Enjoy. So what I find is that when I was young, when I was a little skittle, and that's what I call little gays when they first come out, little skittles, because they're getting that first taste of the rainbow. Do with that as you will. I find that there were two ways that when I noticed when I was young and I was finding out that people were gay and I was one of them, there were two kind of roads that you could go down. One being that you would get super diligent gay. Like you'd just be sitting around and reading Stone Butch Blues and just hating heterosexuals. I did not go that route. I went more of a carnation, I'm going to read Oscar Wilde kind of route, which was militant in its own way, but had a little kind of Art Nouveau swirl to it that I enjoyed. And then there was the other thing where you're kind of hesitant. And you're afraid, all the time. What's going to happen? What kind of gay I'm going to be? I had no insight into what gay I was going to be. And I thought, well, what a great lark. I get to make it up. And luckily I made up this, which I immensely enjoy. Immensely. I mean, seriously. I named these things. You think I'd have to have some fun somewhere in it. I was thinking that in those early days, I was hesitant about being this because, there was that great thing about being very butch, being very masculine, and being accepted by gays. You didn't want to be a gay stereotype. You wanted to be militantly gay, but you wanted to be militantly kind of cool in your own way. And I was afraid of all the gays, you see. I was afraid of the hesitant gays, I was afraid of the masculine gays, and I was afraid of the militant gays because I didn't feel like I was getting the right information. Like, I read Camille Paglia once and thought, all right, lady, put on a little lipstick and shut up. But that you can send directly to her. What a crazy person. I don't care for her at all. But I read Foucault and Judith Butler and did all that work. And why I'm dropping these names to impress you, I've no idea. Your guess is as good as mine. I hope you brought a cheese plate to this pity party because it's going to get real. I was finding that I didn't really know where I kind of fit in that world. Now, instead of being totally upset and unknowing how I was going to make it after all, I thought, well, you'll just figure your side of it out. Because, listen, I didn't become gay so I could run to the gym every day, so that I could care about sports of any kind. I mean, somebody said to me, oh, you should join something. I thought, not a joiner, not a joiner. I think that's the first gay characteristic, don't you? Not a joiner. You kind of saw what was going on and went, you know what? Not for me. I'll go my way by myself. Thanks. And I saw these kind of camps of gays, and I thought to myself, well, I don't really know that I fit into any of them. I just feel like I'm a little pansy over here in the corner, trying to make some sense of life all on my lonesome. Now, that causes some young people to panic. That causes some young people to put on things that are not them. Luckily, I was always kind of a blurry Rosalind Russell. So I was fine, just being myself. As time went on, you do get those pressures, these weird, strange pressures from other gay people being like, oh, get a load of her, You see them eyeing you, and you know what they're eyeing you out of? Jealousy. Jealousy. I'm telling you, honest to God, I've never been to a party with a group of gay people and didn't show up looking in some sort of way, and didn't everybody there want to be me for at least a second? Just to have the freedom. Now, maybe not specifically me, but some part of it. Some part to put on a scarf and be witty and spray yourself with Chanel No. 5 and wear a jaunty hat because it makes sense. Because you're a jaunty sort of person. And when I started to think of myself that way, it was this amazing kind of shift. Like, oh, I'm operating, hear it, at a greater frequency of freedom. Oh my goodness. How fortunate. I get to do things because I enjoy them. I don't have to do anything else that I don't enjoy. It's the first kind of step that you have when you realize that you're an adult. And I remember having it as a young gay person and kind of thinking to myself, oh, this is going to suit me quite well. It may be hard in its own way. You may not be simple for people, but you'll certainly be a creation of your own making. You'll create some sort of intricacy with yourself and allow the people that will get it to get it. It was a great gift that I gave myself as a young gay man, because I think, if I'd gone another route, I think about that all the time. What if you'd done this? What if you'd done that? Not in a sense of regret, but certainly in a sense of wonder. What would it have been like if I had gone and done certain things, or if I chose to do them now, even now, sitting here in quarantine, wondering where it's all going to go. What if I chose to just wake up tomorrow and be a strange kind of normal homosexual person? What if I went back to polos? Could you imagine? What would happen? Would it be different? Would I feel different? And when I sat with it, you have to ask yourself these questions, especially around birthdays. And if this is getting too serious for you, I think that's fine. I hope you're still laughing. There's been a lot of funny things said, and I hope you're counting. But when I got back to it, I thought, well, see, that's the thing. I don't know that you can go back. I don't think you can de-evolve, I don't think I know that I could go back and just wear polos. I mean, I'm sure I could do it if needed. Why ever, I can't imagine. And I guess I could go back to wearing pants and trying to fit in. But then I would think about all the times where not fitting in gave me such a wonderful perspective about the world. Why not fitting in sometimes allowed me to talk to people I wouldn't have talked to. I wouldn't have known. Who would be in my life that has touched me so deeply? Who would be in my life that has made me this person? When you think about that, when you change your perspective about this person you are now being a gift to that person that you knew back then, it makes you sit in real wonder. I'll tell you a story. I was in Vermont at a Radical Fairy gathering, right? Which I've been involved with the Radical Fairies for years, and it's as anyone will tell you who've ever been to a Radical Fairy gathering, it's equal parts joy and trauma, just mixed together. Lots happens. It's a heady space. You got to be ready to go in, and you got to be ready to have some recovery time after, because gay people are crazy, especially outside. So I was in Vermont, and I was, figuring out life as you always are. It was the middle of the summer, and I was going into town. I was riding into town with all these other people. You hear it? Riding in, and I caught a glimpse of myself in the side mirror of this truck we were all about to pile in. And my hair was long and curly, and I had this beautiful green scarf tied down me, and I had a ring on my finger, and I had I had found in a junk store a little wooden brooch with Eleanor Roosevelt's face in it. And I thought, who doesn't get a lot of jean jacket wear? Eleanor Roosevelt. And does she deserve it? Of course she does. So I was wearing a little Eleanor Roosevelt pin and this kind of denim jacket and cowboy boots. I remember the outfit exactly. And I saw my reflection in the side of the car. And I said, oh my God, you've actually done it. you've actually become the thing that you thought you wanted to be. And I say that because when I was young, many moons ago, my God, how did we ever get so old and still so beautiful and supple? That's not even the light, that's just natural glow, ladies. I, when I was young, I kind of, and this sounds so weird and people don't believe it, but I can show you the scribbly diaries of a young Justin Elizabeth Sayre, and you would see the lunacy that was going on. When I said to myself, I want to be like, when I grow up, I want to be a crazy artist. That was the entire dream. The entire dream. I wanted to be able to quote Shelley at a party. I wanted to be able to talk about books and have my picture taken. I wanted to be a beatnik at best and probably in Warhol's, a lower superstar at worst. You know what I mean? Like an ultraviolet. I was in a couple things, but I really was hanging out with Dolly. And in this moment, I saw myself and I was like, wow, you at least got the look together. The rest may not be true. You may be dealing with whatever your issues are, and you like drugs, but not enough to really get serious about them. Yeah, that's I tell you this, the only reason I'm not like an alcoholic or have a problem with drugs is because I'm just lazy. Just lazy. I think if you want to drink all day, that's a planning that you have to do. I can't even remember to fill the Brita overnight. No. So when I was young, I wanted to be this kind of artsy fag, essentially. I mean, truth be told, fag, just an artsy, curly-haired faggot. And then looking at myself in the side of this car, I was like, well, you got the look down. And it was terribly exciting because I was having that moment where I was like, oh, wow, you could do the thing that you were worried maybe you wouldn't be able to do. Because I remember growing up in a small town in Pennsylvania where not many people knew what the hell I was talking about, and hoping to move to New York where I thought people would know what I was talking about. But guess what? Not many people in New York knew what I was talking about either. But through that all, I was able to kind of turn myself into this idea of who I wanted to be, even just visually. And that had come with lots of different components that had gone through lots of different iterations. There had been influences on that person that were different than I could have imagined. But at least in that moment, I got there. And I thought, wow, I paid that kid back. Because that kid in Pennsylvania didn't know if they would make it to this. That kid in Pennsylvania didn't know if this was really even possible. And now you've exceeded what that kid could be. It was a heartening moment. And it didn't mean that I was going to be sure of it every day after that. No, it didn't mean that at all. It didn't mean that I was going to stick to it every day. It didn't mean that I wasn't going to fault my own sense of truth with it. But it meant that I was at least getting somewhere, closer to who I dreamed about being. You know, the thing about being gay, it's a curse as much as it's a joy. I mean, listen, if you're talking to people who really enjoy their homosexuality, welcome. I enjoy every minute of it. I find it delightful. The only problem with homosexuality is the men. Am I right, girls? Jesus Christ. The only problem with being gay is having to deal with these other faggots. Oof. And you can get mad about that word, but let me tell you, girls, that word is well earned. Well earned, madam. If I can't say it, who can? If you haven't had it screamed at you from a moving vehicle when you were wearing just civilian clothes and thought, today, I was standing on Los Feliz Boulevard and this guy pulled over and went, faggot! And I went, in this? Girl, I didn't even show up for you. I just needed to run to the grocery store and get some very slicely thinned ham. No, I was realizing that, everybody has gay horror stories of dating. You really do all have them, right? It's not just me. And because even the ones I've collected, like, they're always awful. Gay breakups are always more awful than straight breakups. You know it, for instance. Like a straight breakup will be something like, oh, he cheated on her. Mm-mm-mm. How terrible. Cheating. Remember what that even means? A gay breakup will be like, girl, he fucking stole my identity and was selling meth out of my mother's urn. Like, it's unbelievable, the shit that goes down. That goes down. And also the shit that you deal with to get there. Like, for instance, you remember hooking up? You remember when that was an option? Remember? I know. Long time ago. But you've been let's be honest, ladies. You've been in a house where you thought, and this is where I die. You have gone to somebody's house and you have shown up in a set designed for a Saw movie. And you've been there for some dick and you thought, yeah, this is where I die. This is where I die. You have texted friends and say, I'm going to be in Woodside, Queens tonight. Don't ask me why, but if I don't show up tomorrow, look for me. You've done it just for a little dick. Oh my God, the crazy places, the crazy people, My God. The conversations you've sat through, the banter you've tried to make, the voice you've tried to deepen just for a little piece of ass. It's terrifying. It's terrifying. And, definitely. You've been in a place and you thought, this is the end. I'm going to be buried by the river I just crossed. And it's not that all gay men are terrible, because they're not, though 25% of them are, as we got from the recent polling. Side note, aren't you glad? Now, I know this is getting political, but I do have to address it, and then we'll scoop on back. Just a political side note, because we're living in a political side note, for Christ's sake. Aren't you just a little relieved that very soon he'll be done? I mean, I'm sure he'll be around, but he'll just be done. He won't be able to fuck us up every single moment of our lives. Aren't you just it's cold comfort, darlings. It's cold comfort. It's the lo mein and somebody picked out all the pork. It's not great. But in a pinch, it's going to do you okay. So, back to horrible gays. These horrible gays, it's this thing that I get into a lot, where I don't understand what all the fuss is about still. Like I'm gonna say this to you as a gay person. The next time you're on some kind of apparatus, some gentleman's social apparatus, with a lover, a pen pal, erotic or otherwise, and they start freaking out, just remind them who they are. Darling, dear heart, sweetness, heaven, kitten, poodle, you. I would like to remind you that we're gay people, meaning there are no rules. Our only rule has to be to each other. We can have affairs, we can do thruples. How many goddamn thruples do you know right now? Seriously. How many thruples? What is that? Everybody I know is in a thruple now. A thruple? A thruple. I can barely handle one. Now we all have to have three? How? This is not a harem. Not a harem situation. Unless we really know who's on top. My God. All that cackling around one house. How? It just sounds terrible. I want one deaf orphan. That's it. No. Yeah. A deaf orphan. I think it would be great. Great, because it would be perfect. Perfect. So if you know any beautiful deaf orphans with the souls of poets, please send them my way. It is my birthday after all. But you get on these you get in these phone calls with these guys and you're texting, people are freaking out and they're like, oh my God, what's going to happen if we get too serious? We don't have to get too serious, ladies. We're gay men. We don't have to be serious about anything. Except maybe Drag Race. That's all. We get real serious about that. Seriously, even if you don't like it, the political conversations that people get into over Drag Race, would that we could invest that time in our own civil liberties. Myself included. I'll tell you, I've had knockout debates about the point of silky ganache to my own embarrassment. Because at the end of the day, what does it matter? And that's what I say to these young gays. What does it matter? Don't get freaked out. You can make up the rules to the tune you want to dance to, baby. You can figure it out. The possibility is endless for you. And then I thought again about what that freedom is. The freedom that I tasted when I was so young and thought, yeah, I'm going to fix myself in a different direction. I'm going to make something for myself because that's really what I owe that kid. I owe him, them, us, an understanding of the world that reflects who they are. I owe that kid the ability to know that they were enough then to become this enough now. And even for all its flaws, for all its silliness, for all its frippery, real frippery. But I get to sit back and see that I've created a world with kids that were just like that other kid. That were looking to become something else, that were looking to blossom out of the soil they found themselves in. And maybe we all owe it to those kids to be this all the time, to know what this is. And not to sugarcoat it, not to look away from the things that bother us. The silliness, the infighting. But to go back and see that it was an expression of something that was there the whole time. I don't mean to be sappy, but it's birthdays and it's quarantine and it's almost Christmas, for God's sake. But I do think about that kid in 44, Pennsylvania, wanting to be an artist and not dreaming how far that dream would go. Didn't think this was ever going to happen. Didn't think I'd be sitting and doing a show with very sophisticated lighting and not a sophisticated setup, let me tell you. Didn't think I'd be in Los Angeles. Didn't think a lot of things. And that possibilities kept me going. Keeps me going now. Could be hell on earth tomorrow, but you know what? It could be great. And I think about that throughout this quarantine, throughout another lockdown. Could be hell tomorrow, but could be we get it right. Could be we do better. Could be we're a little more truthful and a little more honest and a little more easygoing because all we have to care about is each other. And that's the stage of the gay that I'm in right now. A stage where I find myself being further than what I expected, but hoping to still be something new that I create. Well, that, my darlings, is the show. I hope you had fun. I hope you laughed a lot. I know I did. I hope you'll give handsomely at Venmo at Justin-Sayre on Venmo or PayPal JustinSayre@gmail.com. We're going to be passing this video around a bunch, so please pass as you feel. Help me get the word out. If you had a good time, like it so it helps the algorithm or whatever sinister Mark Zuckerberg thing I'm trying to get over tonight. And if you can, feel free to make a little nice donation for a beautiful birthday and a beautiful night that I had with you. Thank you all so much. I love you. Happy quarantine. It can be if we make it. Merry Christmas, and thanks for being a part of my birthday. Now, how do I turn this goddamn